Først så vi gir 3 minutter til siden der servering av vin jo veldig så det klart vi får 3 minutter til. Men først vil Morten Løberg si noe på rim på nynorsk.
It's no big deal, but I feel I have to correct a serious mistake from the photo quiz tonight. And that's because of the sponsors, the main sponsors for the festival. I asked who was the main sponsor, financially speaking. And I was wrongly informed because all the general sponsors contribute with the same amount to Nordic Light. So it's not one specific general sponsor that contributes more financially than the other. So I will go through the answers from you guys, and the right team will win, and you will have your bottle of Sprudelwasser tomorrow night at the photo quiz. Thank you.
That's very important. I think it's 11:15 and it's nearly packed house, and that's the big gift we in Nordic Light can have, to receive such a wonderful audience. And since we heard the news this morning that, I mean, all the Cuban photographers are really fantastic. We know that it's a problem that suddenly we had 5-6 people in, and they in a sort of way could compete with each other, but that's the only way we could do it. And when we heard the rumors and all the joy this morning for this fantastic presentation, we asked Raul, this gentleman, if he could do it in the middle of the night again. And I asked him to do a 45 minutes because, and it's no chance to have a Q&A. You can have a Q&A in the bar later because we are late on. But I'm so honored to have you. And all this wonderful word that's said in this city about your work. It's world class, and I think it's a wonderful end of this day when we're talking about so much about technology and having cameras in your sunglasses, and you can all these things that's important. And this guy with the simplest tool in the world is doing great history of photography here tonight in Kristiansund. Bravo.
Gracias a todos. Ante todo quiero darle gracias a Annalise.
Okay.
Ante todo quiero darle las gracias a Annalise por invitarnos a los fotógrafos cubanos Noruega.
Before anything, I want to thank Annalise Flavik for inviting the Cuban photographers to show our work here in Nordic Light.
Y muchas gracias a ustedes por venir.
And I'm very grateful for you to come here to hear me tonight.
Voy a presentarles 4 temas de trabajo que he ido desarrollando del año 90 hacia acá.
I will show 4 different series that I've been working on since 1990.
Y me gustaría mucho que me interrumpieran y me preguntaran.
And I will actually I would love you to interrupt me and ask me some questions if you really feel like you.
No soy buen orador.
He's a little bit shy to talk to the people.
Y estoy muy nervioso.
And he's a little bit nervous about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know Canibano's work, and I often do translations. So mainly I will speak for him when he's not speaking. And
como lo decía, soy fotógrafo de la generación de los 90.
He started in 1990, so belongs to this generation of photographers who started in 1990 in Cuba.
Como todos los fotógrafos, tenemos influencia siempre de alguien.
And as every photographer, I have also influences of different photographers.
Yo la tuve de Salgado, de Kudelka y de muchos otros.
So my influences mainly were Sebastião Salgado and Joseph Kudelka.
Yo creo que todos tenemos de todo,
But I believe every photographer has some influences for any other.
pero lo importante es el sello personal.
But the most important is to have to find your own seal, your own style, let's say.
Yo empecé la fotografía en un momento muy difícil.
I started in a very difficult time in Cuba to photograph.
Se había derrumbado el campo socialista en Europa.
After the collapse of the socialist bloc in Eastern Europe,
Y el material fotográfico venía de Alemania Democrática.
all the photographic material we were receiving from Eastern Europe stopped coming to Cuba.
Tuvimos que trabajar con materiales vencidos.
So we had to start working with Spire film and Spire chemicals and
Tuve que
everything.
aprender a preparar los químicos
So I had to learn to prepare my own chemicals from the very basic.
y las cámaras las que tuviéramos.
And at that time we were all using the cameras that were available, mainly Russian cameras, not very good quality.
Soy fotógrafo autodidacta.
I'm self-taught.
En Cuba nunca hubo escuela de fotografía.
The time when I started, there was not a school of photography in Cuba.
Excepto ahora hay algunas pequeñas academias que se han fundado.
Now we have some little schools.
Por ende tuve que aprender todo solo, prácticamente buscando libros, información.
So I had to learn everything by myself, reading books and trying to find the information.
Voy a ir un poquito más rápido porque son muchas fotografías.
And trying to go a little bit faster than this morning because there are many photos.
Y me gustaría que me interrumpieran y me preguntaran.
Well, he keep asking you to asking for questions. But I know how you feel. You are enjoying the work, and maybe later you have some questions to make. At the end, yeah.
En un principio,
Sí, ellos creen que las preguntas eso mejor al final, después que la gente ha visto el trabajo para que lo reconozca.
ok, está bien.
Sí.
En un principio no tenía idea de desarrollar temas específicos.
At the very beginning, I didn't have any idea about developing any specific subject or thing.
Era como salir a buscar una imagen en cualquiera.
So I was just going out to photograph, trying to hunt or find any image that could.
Ya lo verán en
be
otros
interesting.
temas que tengo, que ya son trabajos consistentes de ensayos de 10 años de trabajo.
Yeah, but in time, he started, gathering different images and making the body of these different series he's working on mainly. He usually have big bodies of work, which is like the city, in which they have small series. This is the work you're seeing now is the work of the city, and in that work you have small series like the blackouts. We had a time in 2005. En 2005 fue cuando tuvimos el accidente.
2005.
Yeah, in 2005 we had a hard time with the blackouts. He's going back to this image because this is a very important image of this series. She's having her Swift 15 party that very day, and they had a blackout. And he was there. He photographed her. And the funny story about this photograph is that a year before, her sister had also the Sweet 15 party, and they had also a blackout.
Siempre trabajé con una sola cámara y un solo lente.
Yeah, he's been always working with one camera and a single lens, 28
Siempre
millimeter.
preferí el 28.
Yeah, 28 millimeters.
Probé el 35, el 50 y al final me quedé con el lente 28.
Yeah, he tried 35 and also 50, but 28 is.
Ahora estoy trabajando con teles para cambiar un poco la perspectiva.
Very recently, he's trying to work with tele, trying to see how it is.
Pero ya en
to work
digital,
from
en
far.
digital.
Yeah, but now he's working digital.
Todo esto es blanco y negro,
All this work is film, black and white,
excepto 2 o 3 fotos.
except for 3 or 4 photographs.
Que tuve que incluirla porque eran trabajos empezados ya en blanco y negro.
That he turned to black and white because they belong to the series. I said in the morning when we had this presentation before that for me one of the most interesting things is that due to the small amount of material we were able to get at that time, many times in one roll of only 36 frames, you find 15 and sometimes even more interesting, very good photograph, you know. And this image before is one image I really like a lot. And he was photographing for a week at the mental hospital of Havana. And after a week, he found that all the rolls he shot were destroyed. They couldn't be saved because they were grown. And he saved one roll and a half or something like that. This is one of the images. Yeah. Many people do different things with the finger. Así, así. Yeah. Also, I said that he's very lucky. Very strange things happen when he's around with the camera.
Este es el alcohol habanero.
Yeah, he says that those are the drunks in Havana.
Malecón.
This is part of a series he made of a life by the seawall of Havana. The city is surrounded by 7 kilometers of a wall that protects the city from the sea. And it's a very, very interesting place, and everything happens there, you know, different times of the day. So they're playing this. Malecón, el Malecón Habanero, yeah. Malecón is the name of that seawall. Yeah. You find mermaids. Yeah. He often says also that his work has a lot of influence from surrealism, the surrealistic painters and artists.
En una primera etapa, cuando empecé la fotografía, yo no tenía ninguna formación cultural y de las primeras cosas que vi, estudié un poco sobre pintura y bueno, era el surrealismo, que pienso que es muy poético. Quizás mi obra tiene cierta influencia.
Yeah, when he started, he had really almost no visual education, and then he started trying to see some painting, and he was covered a lot by surrealist painters, and he really enjoyed it, and he added that touch to his images. Yeah, there's some crazy people in Havana.
Bien dado.
Yeah, this is one of the airplanes. And this guy was probably working, he's taken up there.
Bueno, este proyecto que les voy a presentar ahora es un proyecto que lo empecé en el año 99.
This project is going to show now Tierra Guajira, which means like the land of the farmers in Cuban slang.
De niño yo viví en el campo.
It's his most important project at the moment.
De adulto me hice fotógrafo y quise rememorar convivencias de esa etapa
When
en
he
mi
was a
niñez.
child, he used to live he was living for a short period in the countryside. And when he grew up and became a photographer, he wanted to go back to the Cuban countryside to try to find this magic he remembers from his childhood. So he's been photographing for this project since 1999, all along the country, in some very remote areas, very far from the cities. And it's sort of an anthropological work documenting ways of life that will at some point disappear. Like this charcoal
Muchas fotos de estas fueron,
manufacturing.
bueno, como le decía, a partir del año 99. Recorrí varias zonas de Cuba, lugares, o sea, la Ciénaga de Zapata, las zonas orientales.
Yeah, he went to the mountains
Y conviví con muchas familias campesinas.
and he was going to there with the farmers to live with them and help them with whatever they were doing.
Es un trabajo antropológico.
Yeah,
Trato de documentar, ¿ya?
Yeah, and he received also a very special award for this work in 1999. ¿No? Recibió un premio del
Sí, el Premio Nacional de Fotografía en 1999.
Yeah, he received a national prize of
Con 4
photography
fotos
for
de
this
este
work
tema.
in 1999. Yeah, this is one of the images, actually.
Mira la cola de la cerveza.
Yeah, this is they are trying to buy beer.
Mira que son fiestas campesinas.
He's been documenting different parties they have in the countryside, small towns. Yeah, this is one of them.
Eso no se ve bien. Todas estas personas son gente que tienen, o sea, carencia. Explica más o menos.
Yeah. See,
Viven en lugares muy intrincados.
most of the people in this series are farmers, very poor farmers, who live very far away from civilization. Some of them still live in areas that they don't have electricity, still. Because mainly those areas are also protected, so the government is not really willing to bring cables over there to provide the areas with electricity because of national parks. I'm telling you that because in theory, all the countries electrify, but certain areas which are national parks, they don't have electricity because they don't want to change the environment. Within this big body of work of the countryside, he has like different small series. The people who go to cut the sugar cane during the harvest of sugar cane in Cuba, the parties they do every small town, they have one day they celebrate the creation of the town, and they go crazy for a week and they drink until they die, and they make a lot of firework, and it's really dangerous even for the people who are there.
Yo soy fotógrafo, o sea, no trabajo para la prensa.
Yeah.
¿Sí?
Something else which is important is he, like most of the Cuban photographers, he wasn't working for the press, or he was always working for himself.
Estos son proyectos personales.
The personal project. He tried to create his own vision, his own poetical vision of the reality through the document. It's one of those parties where they do the firework.
En mi trabajo yo edito propio, o sea, yo edito mi trabajo, trato de que haya un discurso fotográfico, una relación entre imagen y imagen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does his own edition of the work. He edits the work, and he tries to find a link between the images.
Aquí termina.
Sí, sí.
Este es otro proyecto que lo vengo haciendo hace algunos años.
This is another project he's been
Explícale un poco
working
sobre San
on.
Lázaro.
He's been documenting different events related to a pilgrimage that people do in Havana every 16th of December. During 24 hours, people either walk around 3 kilometers, or they walk from the place where they live, or they pull a stone, or they do any kind of crazy thing, or they go crawling all the way there to pay back promises they made to to the saint who's the patron of this sanctuary. They made a promises like if they have a problem mainly with health issues, and they receive the healing from this saint, they pay back doing this crazy thing you're going to see. And it's one of the strongest beliefs in Cuba, and is shared for both Catholics and Afro-Cuban believers. I mean, they both identify themselves with this particular figure, giving the same saint different names. For some is Lazarus, and for the other is Babalueye.
Por la parte cristiana y por la parte afro-cubana.
Yeah, the Christians and the Afro-Cubans.
Me explicaste que todos los años van miles de personas a San Lázaro, que es del 16 para el 17 de diciembre.
Every year, thousands of people go there, and some of them, like there was one old guy was pulling stone, which is for me is amazing.
Van haciendo
It's
penitencia.
been maybe 7 or more years. Every year, like 3 or 4 months before, he goes from the place where he lives around 200 or 300 kilometers from the sanctuary. He starts like 2 or 3 months before, and every day he pulls a huge rock crawling on the floor. And when the thread he's pulling the rock with is broken, then he leaves the rock there. He goes with his wife, who's accompanying him always to a place to stay the night, and then the next day he comes back to the same place to keep pulling the rock. Because that was the promise he made to the saint. It's probably the biggest religious event in Cuba, and it's very special, and many photographers go there to photograph.
Esto es un proyecto nuevo que comencé hace poquito.
And this is the latest project he's been working on.
Es sobre el envejecimiento en Cuba.
It's about aging in Cuba, the dusk of life.
Es un discurso fotográfico de Cuba a través de las personas muy mayores.
So it's all about very old people in Cuba. How they live.
Muchas de estas personas tenían Alzheimer.
So, some of the people in this series he's been photographing, they are in mental hospitals. They have Alzheimer or dementia. This is his wife. He's going to the hospital to visit her, and she has Alzheimer's, so she doesn't remember anything. But he goes every day. So all women in Cuba are something to fear.
Quiero en mi trabajo también incluir a ancianos alegres.
And he says it's not about everything in this series is not only about sadness, and there's also some sense of humor. Yeah. And some of them have a good life. Yeah.
Terminé.
So this is the end.
Gracias.
My friends, we have no time for a long Q&A. I'm going to ask him a couple of questions. He will be there, and you can ask him. But I have to ask you first one very personal question.
Sí,
Because,
te quiero hacer una pregunta muy personal,
And you don't need to answer.
que no necesitas responder.
Yeah. Because after this, this is some of the best work I've ever seen in the world.
Así que después de haber visto algunas de las mejores fotografías que he visto en su vida,
And
en el
that
mundo,
means when people around this festival is going to promote you around the world, you're going to be world famous.
dice que eso significa que las personas de este festival te van a promover
How about that?
internacionalmente y te vas a convertir en un
How
hombre
about that?
famoso.
You can buy a new house.
Dice que, ¿qué le parece eso? Que puedes comprar una casa nueva.
We are absolutely thrilled. Just two questions because we have no time. You said something about learning composition. It's in a way a very boring word to talk about composition in these amazing photographs. But you have nearly ever have seen so wonderful framed, instead of use the word composition, framed. Your framing is absolutely wonderful. How did you learn it?
¿Qué dice?
Dice que bueno que tú hablaste de algo de aprender a componer, ¿no?
Sí.
Y que dice que la palabra composición es una palabra aburrida para hablar de la forma en que tú...
Dile que yo lo estudié y era muy aburrido para mí, que lo aprendí mirando fotografía.
Yeah. Well, he says he tried to study composition. It was,
Tried?
yeah, and it was very boring for him. And at the end, he finally learned looking at other people's work.
Mirando a los
he
maestros de la
admired,
fotografía.
looking at the work of the masters
Sobre todo la
of
pintura
photography,
también.
and also the painters.
Yeah.
He learned a lot looking at the painters. I think he has a natural eye. I mean, he has an incredible ability to be aware of so many details in the frame, which is it requires a high specialization in the brain.
Traducen un poco. Me he emocionado.
I think the best compliment I can give you is I didn't see the camera. The
Dice
camera
que
was invisible.
el mejor halago que te puede dar es que él no vio la cámara, que la cámara estuvo invisible todo el tiempo.
Because you were there for us. And I think the worst thing that could happen is to give you a big fucking telephoto electronic camera and try to work as simple as you can. But you are really taught us a lot tonight what photography is. And I think it's so fantastic to see after we'll be talking for 4 hours today about the future of technology, and then we see this.
Yeah.
¿Cómo es?
Dice que una de las peores cosas que te pudiera pasar es que te regalen una cámara de esta super cámara digital y un super telefoto. Dice que tú realmente has demostrado que se puede trabajar con lo más esencial, lo más sencillo, lo más simple dentro de la fotografía, con pocos recursos. Y que después de haber estado hablando 4 horas hoy del futuro de la fotografía, él se siente choqueado con el hecho de que toda esa tecnología, al final, tú con muy pocos recursos has logrado hacer una cosa grandiosa.
No, está bien, gracias.
And before we close, sorry for that. Chris Rainier and I talked about today that we're going to be participated in a big event in Tokyo in June, and we really want to, if we could have a possibility to have 5 or 6 or 10 or 15 electronic images to present to the world.
You can have the whole PowerPoint.
And yeah, because we are amazed.
Yeah.
We have a little gift for you. I think you will love it. It's one of the most exciting and beautiful records ever written, and it's actually Norwegian. And I compare you to Jan Gabarek, and that's a compliment.
Jan Gabarek.
And that is a compliment for Jan Gabarek.
Yeah. Wow.